The auditorium lights dimmed as the final graduation song played softly. Everyone stood, cheering, clapping, and hugging. But not Ava. She stood frozen, trembling, her hands clutching the torn edges of her once beautiful white dress, trying desperately to hide what the bullies had just done. She had dreamed of this day for years. Ava was the new girl, transferred in the final semester of high school after her father passed and her mother moved to a smaller town for work. She was quiet, soft-spoken, with large brown eyes and an old soul. She didn't dress like the popular girls. She didn't care for gossip, cliques, or attention. But what made her different, made her a target. That morning, Ava had taken extra care with her dress, a simple white gown her mother had stitched by hand, saving for weeks to afford the fabric. "You look like a star, sweetheart," her mother had whispered, tears in her eyes. It wasn't flashy, but it shimmered under the light and carried love in every thread. But to the trio, Madison, Bella, and Crystal, it was something to mock. "Look who's playing Cinderella," Bella sneered in the hallway before the ceremony. "I think it's from a thrift store," Crystal giggled, loud enough for everyone around to hear. Ava had ignored them, as she always tried to. She kept walking, head low, heart pounding. She'd spent months being the weird girl, laughed at for her accent, her quietness, the books she read during lunch, and especially for that one time she cried in class after a teacher unknowingly brought up her dad. That memory alone gave them weeks of material. But nothing had prepared her for what would happen tonight. As the graduates gathered behind the stage for their final walk onto the stage, the trio approached. At first, it looked like another round of teasing, harmless, petty. But Madison stepped forward with a smile too sweet, like poisoned honey. "You know," she said, brushing imaginary dust off Ava's shoulder, "we've been thinking, you shouldn't go out there looking like this." Before Ava could react, Bella reached behind her and yanked at the dress's seam. A sickening rip filled the room. Ava gasped. The fabric tore halfway down the back. Her knees buckled in shock as laughter erupted, not just from the trio, but from others who stood around, too afraid to intervene. She fled. Tears clouded her vision as she ran into the girls' bathroom, heartbroken, humiliated. She looked at herself in the mirror, chest heaving. The dress was ruined. Her moment, gone. Or so she thought. Moments later, the door creaked open. Footsteps entered. "Ava," a soft voice called. It was Zoya, a shy girl from her art class. Behind her stood Natalie, one of the theater kids. And then came Priya and Hannah, girls Ava barely knew. "We saw what they did," Zoya said. "And we're not letting them win." Without another word, they got to work. Natalie pulled out her sewing kit, always in her bag for emergencies. Zoya handed Ava her own shawl to drape over the back. Hannah clipped on a flower from her hair. Piece by piece, the ruined gown transformed, not perfect, but stronger. And beautiful in a new way. When Ava walked back out, moments before her name was called, heads turned. She didn't look broken. She looked like she owned the stage. She walked with pride, tears still on her cheeks but a quiet fire in her steps. The crowd, seeing the patched-up gown, the marks of cruelty, grew silent. Whispers spread. Some stood in solidarity. Even the principal looked furious when he saw her walk. Then came the real twist. As Ava descended the stage with her diploma, a video started playing on the giant screen. At first, confusion. Then gasps. Someone had filmed it, the tearing of the dress, the laughter, Ava's pain. It was Priya. She had recorded it to show the truth. The video had been uploaded moments before. Within minutes, the bullies' laughter turned into panic. The auditorium buzzed. Teachers stormed to find the trio. Parents stared in horror. And for once, the power shifted. Madison, Bella, and Crystal were pulled aside. Questioned. Their parents notified. They didn't laugh anymore. They begged. Tears and apologies poured out, but no one felt sorry for them. They had crossed a line. In the parking lot after the ceremony, Ava stood under the golden streetlight, her mother hugging her tightly. "You did it," her mother whispered. "Not just graduation, you showed them who you are." Zoya and the others ran to her, now her friends. The moment that had nearly broken her, became the moment that made her. Because strength isn't about shouting the loudest or wearing the prettiest dress. It's about rising when they try to tear you down, and finding your voice when they want you silent. And Ava. She rose. Moral. Sometimes the world sees your scars before your strength. But it's the way you wear them that writes your story. Be unbreakable.